Experienced or not, follow me through the first 7 turns with some extra theory thrown in the middle, and then the following 10 turns with some unique scenarios in to help you on your way to becoming a legendary player. Welcome to Elven Plothammer, and this is your very first campaign, no experience required. This will maybe be one of the most important videos I do make because this is your first campaign if you are a brand new player to Total Warhammer 3. This video is to make sure you have fun campaigns, it doesn't overwhelm you, and you hopefully become part of this community. This is going to show you techniques that if you're an intermediate player, that may even push you to advance. The faction we've chosen is Miao Ying of the Grand Cathay race. They're characterized by demigod lords, which are literally dragons that can transform between casters and dragon form, meaning they're very versatile on the battlefield. They're considered very all-rounder, with a little something of everything in every area. Grand Cathay have a very hierarchical society, meaning at the lowest level they are more trained and equipped to stand in formations and support each other collectively. This is an excellent fundamental and will teach you how to use any race effectively. Their building options are simple but complex enough to give you some creativity, meaning if you can nail this, you can handle anything. It's advisable to learn diplomacy through good factions first, and their excellent trade means Grand Cathay are an excellent first place. Diplomacy, movement, attack formations, as well as building long-term borders, diplomatically and militarily. Now, whilst we are looking at a completed campaign, the reason is at the beginning we need to have some idea of what we're aiming for in the long term. Just trying to expand in any direction is going to lead you into trouble. So the first type of border is of course a geographic border. It can be, for example, the ocean, meaning the only way you could get attacked is navally, which is not likely to happen unless you have discovered someone, so by keeping contained to your starting location, you're unlikely to discover any factions that could declare war on you. Geographic borders can also include mountains, meaning that a character can't pass through them. You can see the path that any character can walk by simply selecting a character and pressing and holding right click. This demonstrates that a character walking in regular stance would have to go all the way around this mountain pass, meaning that this is the only way in and out. But fortunately, the other type of border we can create is diplomatic, and we've achieved this by a military alliance with the western provinces, meaning this entire western edge of our empire is protected by Xiaoming. Any hostilities that occur to the west will have to be taken care of by him. Any to the east, well, there are none because of this geographic border of the map's edge. Looking to the south here, we see the other type of geographic consideration, and that is climate. Green means excellent, you will have no constraints. Orange, unpleasant climates take a little bit longer and a little bit more cost to build up, but they're ultimately worth it in the long term. However, uninhabitable climates really aren't what you're after. You get around this by flexing your diplomatic muscle. If you're an evil faction, consider raising it, but if you're a good faction, consider gifting it to someone else who can make better use of it. And the huge extension to build times and construction will generally make this a poor investment. Total War Warhammer is about focusing on what your race is good at by circumventing the weaknesses. Do not try to compare yourself to this or rush. Since the climate dictates that we really don't want to go north of this position because of this terrible red territory, once we have enough money to afford a couple of spare armies we can build up, we would just go out and just raise, burning these to the ground. To build these territories up and defend them is just way too much of your time as a player when you could be focusing on making yourself rich in areas that actually matter. So what do we do if we can't make a border with an ally or with basic geography? Well, we build up defenses. Capitals automatically have walls, making them the most defensive settlements you can get. You ideally want to have a capital around the edges of your territory because they would be much harder to take. Since every province only has one capital, you'll have to use the minor settlements on the borders of your territories in other cases. We build it up by building up the garrison building. This will add settlement defenses, i.e. towers, and allow the basic garrisons, which don't have a lot of units, able to beat armies several times their size. If you see trouble coming, like a revolt or an enemy army, the best thing to do is to quickly hire a lord in that territory and hire units before the threat gets there. Always make sure you place the lord inside the settlement, otherwise they will attack that lord and you'll have to wait for all reinforcements to come out instead of everyone hiding inside the garrison using the towers and walls to assist you. Just a quick reminder guys, if you are enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing, it really helps out. Ask any question in the comments, I answer everything, and if you'd like to talk strategy, feel free to join the Discord. Cheers. So starting off your brand new campaign, we will of course be going into Immortal Empires. I would definitely recommend Miao Ying. She's an absolute badass. Just go normal, or even easy. But I'd recommend normal to start off with. It's not that bad. And as for your end game scenarios, I would disable them as a new player. I'll leave them on, but they don't kick in till turn 100. Anything else gets a bit too hokey. I'm going to do this on Legendary, so it applies to everyone. Here we are at the start of a brand new Legendary campaign. Keep in mind there will be timestamps, so if you want to skip past the instructional and more into the turn by turn, but we're now going to look into the faction, the Lord, and see how this informs the decisions we'll make as we play the game. So top right corner, we can bring up our faction overview, detailing what our hero cap will be, but also our faction bonus. In this case, it gives us a bonus versus demons, more ammunition with our range units, and a corruption bonus. Corruption's not really an issue in Warhammer 3. And if we go to Miao Ying herself, bottom right corner, or right click on her portrait, and every Lord will have a stable trait, and this one gives 50% reduced upkeep to missile units. So this tells us we have cheap missile units with a lot of ammo, so we should build our armies around expensive missile units, which will give us the most bang for our buck there. All pun intended. Now, compared to some factions, Cathay actually have a lot of mechanics, but the good thing is you can basically set and forget and then tweak them on the odd occasion that you do need them. So this is the way to set them up. So the first staple ability is the Wu-Jing compass, and this allows you to set, it will build up over a few turns, and then you direct in another direction to start building that. So it's a bit of a ping pong act, but primarily, starting off the Great Bastion, you need to be defending the north. Also, replenishment is exceptionally important. Does not matter who you play as. So 2%, it does add up. So this is the first direction you want to go. And as for the Ivory Road, you need to hire a brand new caravan. The one that you pick doesn't really matter, but I go the one with the more expensive units because you don't pay upkeep for the actual army, which is great. Now, you have one of 3 locations which stand out above the rest, and I recommend the first location is the Myrmidons. This will give you a 5% increase to all of your building revenue. After that's returned, then go to Castle Drakenhof, get the Von Cast-Iron Blade, which will give another Lord regeneration, really tanky, but you don't need it in the first few turns. Money, I will say, is far more important. Speaking of which, your next location after that should be Marienburg, which gives another global bonus to trade. Money can solve all your problems. The only models that can move around the maps are Lords and Heroes. Lords lead armies, whilst Heroes are more like agents, can sabotage walls, damage armies, or even assassinate Lords. Select any Lord, press and hold right click down, and you can see the movement paths available, but look at the movement percentage bar. You can see the remaining movement left, and this is very, very important as you can only move once and can't undo. You can separate or join a hero to any army because they will get most experience if they are part of combats. Nearly every faction will start with a hero nearby. Your first move should nearly always be to join the hero to the army. They'll give a bonus to the army. This one increases movement. Campaign movement is incredibly important. And then attack your first army. We're going to fight this on the field so we can learn how to fight. Welcome to the battlefield. This is an area of the game that many people avoid to start off with, and when you don't have control, it's not. I'm going to teach you how it's done, and I promise you it is fun. Once you get good at battles, you will never look back, and then you will truly love this game. First thing you should always do is go default guard mode on, default skirmish mode off. If these aren't like this, do them right now. So first things first, get your legendary lord, hotkey number 1, control 1, and then get your caster, control number 2. These, you can double tap these anytime, fly around the field. Very useful. Highlight your caster anywhere, and then you can select their spells and cast them without having to find them. Same with your legendary lord, you'll want to keep them kind of in and out of trouble. Now, the signature unit of this faction is the Almighty Skydrunk, literally a hot air balloon with freaking fireworks on it. Absolutely awesome to use. Now, this is how you set up. Watch my formations videos. I have formation videos for several factions, and they're pretty staple rules that will work. You can have wide lines. This is good to resist artillery fire, but for what we want short boxes which can quickly pivot, so the people on the outside don't have to take so long to reposition. So there's benefits to short and wide lines, but I like to start in boxes and then stretch out to react. So you'll notice my formations always have the element of being able to react. We're going to do 3 units. We don't want them on top of each other because then they can't fire. Spaced out nicely enough, and then we're going to place our shielded units up the front. You can see the shield icon here, and that has basically 1 in 3 chance of blocking any ammunition that hits them. We have dirt cheap peasants, and they're very cheap and easy to replace, but they don't have very good armor. So 15 armor is basically as low as it goes. These Jade Warriors, whilst their training is decent, they're basically a standard soldier, a standard man-at-arms that's been called up, but he's got some pretty decent equipment. 80 armor is very good this early, so they'll have great holding against anything that does not have armor piercing, which you're not likely to find early on, so they're excellent line holders. These peasant long spears are spearmen indicated by the spear, which means they will be excellent at defending against cavalry. If cavalry come around the flank, we're going to draw a line like that and then brace. Bracing just means don't move. Stand. Right now they're bracing. Technically everything's bracing, but unless you got a spear, it probably won't do much else. But this will reflect the damage back at any horses that get the wrong idea. And of course we have our Skyjunk up the back. Now we have the artillery advantage. This means we can litter shots onto them and force them to come to us. So we call this forcing the engagement. So let's start the battle, and we want to aim for their ranged units first, or their armored units. The reason being is we don't have a lot of armor piercing, so taking them down would be very beneficial. So there we go, we've done a good amount of damage. Now our ranged units, we're going to hotkey those number 4. We can focus the enemy down, and that unit will break sooner. Notice how we don't attack until they're in range. We'll highlight the ones that are in range and then fire. We don't want units running into each other and ruining our formation. Alright. Now notice this, we're going to use our single unit here to hold the enemy in place and exposes them to a lot of fire. They're retreating, let's aim for their ranged units. Aiming for ranged units is usually very potent. Now we have a summon here, we're going to catch the enemy. We want to pin this enemy, so notice how we're turning their backs towards us. Being shot in the back ruins the morale of the enemy. Now we're going to get a charge into the rear. Charging into the side of an enemy that's engaged will give a massive 13-second bonus to melee attack and damage, and charging into the rear, even bigger benefit. Alright, so Miao Ying can transform into a dragon. Your personal abilities are on the left hand side and your spells are on the right hand side. Before we move, let's cast some Earthblood, which is a fantastic healing spell on our Skyjunk, and because we can't cast once we've transformed into a dragon. Alright, so the battle is won. Should we finish the battle? Not yet. We're going to kill as many as we can. We will get more gold, more captives by doing this. Having a unit of cavalry can be quite useful here for this purpose alone. Also, guard mode means once this unit is out of the archer's range, the archers won't chase after them and thus ruin your formation. Last thing I'm going to show you here is called the group hug. Now this is when you need to be in human form. Any life caster can do this. Life casting has Earthblood. Hold Alt and press 1, and this will select the first spell in the first list, which is Earthblood. Keep on casting Earthblood, which can heal 3 units. So single entities are heroes, or large monsters, or large machines like the Skyjunk, and we can just keep on healing after the battle's done. It's super overpowered, but this means you will finish many battles stronger than you were than when you began them. Once you have completed a province by obtaining and controlling all of the settlements, then you can choose a commandment. Sometimes these are really great with factions, other times they're kind of mid. Cathays are okay. Now in your faction capital, which we stated is going to be your primary recruiting ground, getting +1 local recruitment capacity is absolutely king. Make sure this first building is Yang, because it will give you +1 recruitment. This will allow us to build our stack much quicker. Because we are in a province with a barracks, we want to take advantage of that while we're here, so we're going to build 2 Jade Warriors. Alright, we've worked our way all the way around. The very last one is diplomacy. Now this is one of the most important aspects and also one of the most ignored aspects. So how do we read the diplomacy screen? Well, first of all, who are our neighbors and who are they fighting? So we have the Imperial Wardens here. They are fighting all chaotic factions. So pretty cool. They also own the gates, so one of the most important factions in the game. But think of this as like the wall in Game of Thrones and all the bad guys coming through here. These 3 gates are meant to stop everything. We want to confederate them, meaning absorb their lords and lands into our faction as soon as possible. So we need to sign agreements. Each agreement you sign will increase and compound the amount of relations you gain per turn. Once you're over 100 or so relations and they've got enough heat on them, typically losing their main army, they will want to confederate. So let's sign whatever we can with them. Trade agreement will of course benefit both parties, but you also need materials to trade. So you can balance the deal and then you can manually change the amount, and you can see until this amount goes 0. If we overshoot, just wind it back. There we are. So let's go back to quick deal, and we're going to fly across from left to right. Celestial Loyalists, another cathay faction, so we want to only trade with good factions, humans, elves, dwarves. How do we know if we should deal with people? Well, let's see. He's enemies with beastmen. I don't mind that. We don't want any bad factions, so let's sign this trade agreement and get some more income. Cool, but have a look. He's a major faction. He is at war with the dissenters. The dissenters are one of our neighbors here, so we don't want to trade with them because it's going to piss off Miao Ying. So major factions don't have anything to do with the people they hate. You want them on side, like who they like, hate who they hate. And that's your first turn done. Good on you. Start of turn 2, your caravans will often get the chance to recruit new units, sometimes even heroes, at the start of the turn. Just choose the one that's better because it's free. Now the start of turn 2, upgrade your pottery. Now it is time to hire a second lord, which is where a lot of the shenanigans you can get away with really do come from. So by hiring an additional lord, we are going to go for a caster. Caster lords are absolutely king in this game. Forget about the Malay lords, forget about the generals. You want a caster because they can typically get on a mount, which circumvents the fact they're not that great MLA, and magic is just absolutely king in this game. And we'll get them to move as close to this settlement as possible. And we'll get them to hire 4 Jade Warriors. We can get the peasants another time. Now let's get Miao Ying to attack our second settlement. We can auto-resolve this one. We took more losses than I thought we would.
Once you defeat a settlement, you'll have the opportunity to either occupy it, which means taking it. It will only be degraded 1 level. Looting and occupying it, which means you trash it, earn a bit of gold, but then inherit the buildings damaged. Or outright sacking it, stripping out all the wealth, lowering the settlement by 1 level. Or razing it, burning it to the ground. Nearly in all cases, occupying the settlement will be the best choice for you. It prevents revolts and allows you to rebuild the settlement quickly.
Well. I would manually fight that one, but I'm trying to keep this one going. So now we can get enough points to start improving our archers. So 6% extra damage, and we want 3 points to increase their range even further. This ability, Enchanted Metallurgy, works very well with Miao Ying. We're going to cast it on her when she's in her dragon form, and it will power up her damage even more. It's pretty cool. We're going to get another 2 more Jade Warriors, and then we'll focus on archers. If you can't get the Jade Warriors because there was no barracks, instead just build some archers. All that's left now is diplomacy. Did any new deals open up? And of course, Miao Ying has accepted our trade deal. Awesome. This will eventually build up to a military alliance. And end your turn. Take the time to see what weapons and ancillaries are available. So ancillaries are usually filled up down here, and they are your followers. We have one here which will increase our rank of Jade Warriors. So wherever you are, if you have a lord that's going to be hiring some Jade Warriors, like this one, make sure it has Jade Sculpture to get those extra recruit ranks. Recruit rank really isn't that important, truth be told, but it's nice to have. Turn 3, let's get excited and complete our first province. Make your way to Terracotta Graveyard and attack. You should have done the last battle manually, by the way, and we will fight this, of course, on the battlefield. And on the battlefield, just follow me closely, this will all make sense. We're going to have a front row of 3 Jade units.
In front of those 3 Jade units, place your 2 characters to catch the enemy before they come in. Along each flank, put another unit in reserve, and at the rear, use your anti-large units to catch any cavalry. The goal is to keep your missile units free and able to fire without obstruction.
Cavalry have come in and got the charge in on us. We're going to fan our one unit out like this and charge the other unit in. Alright, let's counter charge. Okay, they're only peasant horsemen, they're not heavy cavalry, otherwise we would be prioritizing them. Alright, let's transform. Dragon mode. Cool. Alright, let's focus on these peasant archers. Alright, charging in. Alright, now notice here, oh, nice shot from the sky junk. We're going to use our flying unit to push them back. They're already shitting themselves because there's a big ass dragon coming. Now once they get super close, if this unit can't brace, we're just going to charge in at the last moment and get this unit to shoot. And don't forget that you can use your sky junk bomb on the enemy. Just make sure you avoid your friendly fire, hold spacebar if you're having trouble seeing. So shooting into the backs of enemies that are already engaged like this, or the sides, really effective strategy. Now use your metallurgy ability on Miao Ying, and this will give her even more punch in melee. Focus the enemy down. Once they're broken, keep on shooting till they shatter, or just break them 3 times. But if you really want them gone, do that. Okay, this unit is surrounded, just about. Cool. Control A, turn off guard mode so everything fights and chases everything down to hell. Get everyone paired up with the target and shoot. Just make sure you don't bomb your own guys. Get back in time to group hug with the sky junk and heal it up. As usual, just occupy the settlement. And now we are only 1 settlement away from our next capital and completing our 2nd settlement. Keep on buffing those ranged units and again start focusing on your magic. Make sure you always get the passive at some point. Now our 2nd brand new lord can start making their way to the enemy province. Let's move on to the corner. Hire 3 crossbows and 1 jade warrior just in case we can disband them in good enough time. This guy can just build up quite quickly. We're going to take his settlements and give them to Yao Ming to build that relationship. Double check your diplomacy options. Cool. Loyalists have given us military access. Done. So military access, trade, and non-aggression pacts are the basic 3 treaties. With anyone you want long-term relations with, get them as soon as possible.
Diplomacy is one of the most critically overlooked elements of this game, and all it is a series of multipliers, positive or negative. They will like you if you're nice to people they like, and also like if you do bad things to people they hate. But the strongest way to develop bonds is either by trading territory, but moreover, joining their wars. Now this is something you should not do blindly. First select a would-be ally, and then see who they're at war with. You'll see several factions they're not at war with, so click on their icon and then assess that enemy. You might not be able to see them yet, but if you can, you'll see their enemies and their friends. If their enemies are all evil factions that you want nothing to do with, then you have everything to gain by joining this war. You'll gain some cash, but also this gives a treaty, which will improve your relations. This increases the amount your relationship will improve every single turn. Whether or not a faction accepts a deal is based on a few factors. Most important is their relationship with you, so logically you want more treaties and stronger treaties like alliances earlier, so long as you don't mind them roping you into wars. You can weigh a deal in your favour by putting something really tempting on the table. Offering to join a war, giving a piece of territory is the most juicy option. However, if a faction is really under stress, they will very much welcome an alliance and they will pay gold to do so. But instead of gold, you can use, as you see here, other treaties to balance the deal. In most cases, confederating quickly is very hard to do. However, Cathay had very strong diplomatic relations to begin with, and confederating the Imperial Wardens is one of our first objectives, so we're going to sign this deal, which includes an alliance, all in exchange for joining some wars which we won't really have to fight too heavily, and we're probably going to declare war on us anyway. Also to the north of you is Zartan, a powerful Chaos Dwarf Lord. The other major threat north of the wall is the Tzeentch faction village. Just try offering to join one of his wars in exchange for him declaring war on village. If he does accept, you've just directed the 2 biggest threats to fight each other instead of you buying you some valuable time. Turn 4 in a quick geographic assessment, we have our capital which is backed against this lovely mountain wall, completing our first territory and about to complete our second territory. This means when we confederate the Iron Wardens, we have a lovely front and consolidated territory, allowing us now to send our second army south to expand. But first, let's complete our second territory. Now welcome to your very first siege battle. Siege battles are a bit of a mixed bag, and there's 2 ways to win them: either capture the city from within, or just rout the enemy the old-fashioned way. What we're going to do is rout them the old-fashioned way, and we'll see how to do the capturing later. I prefer to do it this way, I just find it personally more fun, and every settlement has a weak area. This is this particular one. We have the Sky Junk, which has a lob-style mortar attack, and this is very useful. As you can see, we're firing down the line, which could clear the gate and deliver some massive damage on the troops within this territory. On legendary difficulty, the enemy will often dodge your artillery-style attacks, but in this area where there's 2 skinny, narrow hallways, the enemy are forced to cluster, so turn off fire at will and fire carefully. It's always wise just to save a little bit of artillery ammo just in case you really need it at the end. So use 3/4 of your Skyjunk ammo and then transform into dragon form and dive in with Miao Ying. Most buffs and debuffs can be cast through walls and don't need direct line of sight, so use your Astromancer to cast her elemental buff on Miao Ying. However, the Astromancer has the Law of Metal, which has the excellent Searing Doom bombardment, don't just waste it, wait for the enemy to either be clustered around a single entity like Miao Ying, or on walls you can bombard them like you see here. The mana pool equivalent in the Warhammer world is the Winds of Magic. You can see the counter here, it will count up, and if you hover over it, it will tell you how many winds you have left. This will gradually replenish your pool until there's no more reserves to draw upon, so make sure when you cast, have it be worth it. The easiest way for great mileage is to group enemies around a single character or front line, and then cast whilst they're tied up and immobilized. Move the rest of your army up in formation by highlighting all the units and holding left click and alt together to move the formation up like you see. Don't move units one by one, move the entire formation. Once enough of the enemy are broken, the army will rout and the victory will be yours. You can speed up victory by killing the enemy lord, but this is best done only by opportunity. Once again, you have completed an entire province, allowing you to choose a commandment to affect all the settlements within it, and there are several good ones you can choose from. You only really need recruitment at your capital or a main recruitment hub, but we're going to go with boosting research. Getting lots of research nice and early is very beneficial. After a battle, any ancillaries or equipment will appear. As you can see, we've just gained one which will lower upkeep for Jade Warriors, very useful. Increasing campaign movement is absolutely paramount, and put that final point into your archers. If your faction starts with a caster hero, this means the hero can specialize in spells, freeing up your lord to be a general and making this red line of army buffs an excellent place to start. Investing in missiles or line holding, i.e. melee defense, of your main units is a very good way to go and will help you win early battles. Miao Ying is an all-round beatstick, so you can focus now on magic, her melee skills, but at level 12 a unique skill line opens for every single legendary lord, and these are typically excellent. Now since we're chasing that early Confederation, double click on the Imperial Wardens to open up the diplomacy screen. Look at the balance of power, they've lost their army so they're in trouble. We can help them out by giving them some money to help build other armies to repel the enemy just long enough. Gifts are also an excellent way of skyrocketing your relations, so this has a double benefit. We don't want to spend more than 4,000 gold, but 4,000 got us a generous gift, so we went with that. Don't send yourself broke with gifts. Keep in mind, the more broke they are, the more generous they believe you are. So here's a quick test. We're looking at our secondary army, and we can expand south now. The Dissenters are a small faction that nobody likes. Only a couple settlements left. Should we attack them? No, not directly. They are at war with Xiao Ming. We can gain diplomatic benefit with him by joining his war. The fact we've done this through a treaty will build our relationship, so if you're ever about to declare war and there's a good faction already at war with them, join that war and make some cash. Well, after all that, let's take this settlement from the Dissenters. Now, we're going to auto-resolve this. The reason being, we'll get an excellent result and we have multiple turns to heal up. The green circle indicates fine climate, which means we'll get the maximum replenishment, which is bolstered whilst garrisoned. Now, since your capital is your main recruitment hub, you don't need all of these barracks and military buildings. Knock them down and focus on economy instead. It will be quite late on till you actually need a secondary major recruitment hub. Just as an aside, you can click this button up here, which opens the allegiance menu. For anyone that's a defensive or military ally, you will gain allegiance points over time. This allows you to recruit units from different factions, different races, which is a lot of fun, but you can also improve it quickly by selecting a target from an enemy you have in common. It's free to do, so why not, but it's not that important. I forget all the time. Turn 5, we're going to assess the balance of power, meaning how strong this faction is. They only have a 25%, so we have two armies that are about 3/4 big each. So we know he's got one really crummy army. He is up against Xiao Ming. You can click on him here, and he has roughly the same power as us. He is only at war with them, which means he has to be coming up and attacking them, so I feel safe moving our army out of here. So this is how you read the room. See who their enemies are and see how strong they are. We're moving up and we need to hire more crossbows. So 4 more crossbows. We're going to pass these in to Miao Ying's army. So Miao Ying will force march down here. Make sure you've got military access with them, which we surely do by now. This is a good chance to introduce stances. This influences the way your lords move around the campaign map. Normal stance is just standard, but you can also force march to gain some extra movement, but this is exceptionally risky. When an army is attacked and defeated once, it retreats away. But if you get attacked in force march stance, there is no retreat. The army starts the battle fatigued and is completely wiped out if you lose. Do not do it unless you are in your own territory. We're going to take out the biggest threat we have south of this wall, which is Deathmaster Snitch, a very powerful Skaven legendary lord, and
we're going to work out the art of ambushing. We're going to show you defensive movement, which you will typically only see high-end players do. You saw it way more in Warhammer 2 because the map was bigger. So she's in force march, he's moved as far as he can normally, and hide troops. We might lose this territory if they decide to attack it. Unlikely, but we need to do quick mental maths. So one turn, spend 500 gold, it just needs to stay alive for 143, so about 4 or so turns, and it makes its money back. I'm confident that's an investment we can make. So doing that quick little head crunch is very, very useful for tier 1 buildings. And another tradable is turn 6. We need to reunite our armies to pass these crossbows over to Miao Ying. So I'm about to show you 2 ways that you can play this from here on. Either way, you'll be able to confederate the gates turn 7, but what I'd like to present here is one super noob friendly strategy, which is if you want to, you can hold this territory and just turtle, using that secondary army to defend anyone like Sneak that might attack you from the south, and using Miao Ying to travel north of the gates and then cleanse those lands of chaos when you are ready. This will really slow your campaign down, but what I will show instead is how you can hold those gates and push a little bit harder earlier and wipe out Snitch, which will wipe out all your major threats early on. Last time I'll say it, play that defensive turtle style if you like, but if you want to push further, the rest of this guide is going to show you how to deal with all the different things that the campaign might throw at you. So this next part is a bit of a multi-choice that you can make. If you play on easy or normal, you can run Miao Ying down, and you could probably take this on the auto resolve and then hire up an army to take care of Snitch. You can do that. I don't recommend that. We're going to add a few turns on attacking Snitch, but we're going to run over and obtain all these amazing troops, or as many as we can take, that are better than the ones we currently have. And we now have an absolute elite fighting force of Jade Warriors in Miao Ying's army, and she can resume marching down to attack. Turn 6, but typically turn 7, you will be able to confederate these 3 gates, but this also means they become your problem. So all the attacks that come in, you need to repel them. If both Zartan and Village attack you at the same time, you will need to cancel this invasion and run up here. We're only 1 province away from being able to recruit Jade Warriors, so we're going to knock this one down, and this will give us way more income because we can trade the iron that it will provide in turn. Turn 7, almost like clockwork, you'll almost always have the opportunity to join Confederation with the Iron Wardens, inheriting the bastions here, as well as the problems and challenges of defending them. And Village attack you at the same time, you will need to cancel this invasion and run up here. We're only 1 province away from being able to recruit Jade Warriors, so we're going to knock this one down, and this will give us way more income because we can trade the iron that it will provide in turn. Looking carefully at the northern provinces, we can see that the mountains and the wall protect this settlement ever getting touched, and the same stands for this one here. The ones they can go through are these gates, which are fortifications, which are the only 3 ways into Cathay. You have Chaos Dwarfs, as well as Norscan tribes invading from the north here. As long as you have armies guarding these gates, there is nothing that will ever break through them. They have a really great garrison, the Great Bastion threat. Think of it as a countdown until the next wave of Norscans come and successfully crash against the gates. Watch out, by the way, when you see these banners saying faction destroyed, this tells you that the enemy of one of your biggest enemies is out of the way. He has no one else to focus on. See if we can give him a target. Will he join? Nope. I have had him successfully do this for maybe 5,000 gold. Absolutely worth it to have your 2 biggest enemies squabbling and fighting, and then you can divide and conquer. Not going to happen, so this is far more challenging. Let's run back to the gates. You will lose this. We want to raise all of this in the late game, but for now we just want to hold these gates and build them up. Now they often have this standard building here, and I really don't like it. Instead, we're going to opt for this reduced upkeep. We can have really big armies that they'll never get through, as well as defensive supplies to build towers that will blow them to pieces. Same as this, knock it down, and with this, knock it down. Miao Ying is now free with her brand new shiny army to move her way down here to take out Deathmaster Snitch. If you don't want to do this and just want to hang tight up here, you absolutely can and take your time, but I'm showing you a really fun aggressive way to get a lot of territory and taking out Deathmaster Snitch early. Now this is a no-no what I've done here. By going in here in force march, we could get ambushed at any time and we can't escape. We risk losing the entire army, but I'm quite confident we won't get hit. I forgot to demonstrate it here, but I'm going to teach now a technique I call return scouting. This is simply taking the hero in your army, marching them out to uncover any enemy armies, and ensuring you don't finish your turn within their reach.
The tip here is to ensure that your hero only moves out less than 50%. This means they can always return back to the army and support them on the battlefield. Whenever force marching or entering in dangerous terrain, always do this. It is a staple of advanced play and I cannot recommend it enough.
So let's take our second army off force march. Let the box come up and tell you that this is Nan Li, because we want to hire some more Jade crossbows to build another army to defend these gates, because we have some serious Chaos Dwarf Fury coming on this way. We can build that iron building just like last time, and we can upgrade our secondary building to tier 2. Each one of these gates can have its own edict. Casualty replenishment you may want to flip to one turn, but typically just go for that growth and reduce construction cost. Casualty replenishment you may want to flip to one turn, but typically just go for that growth and reduce construction cost. Turn 8. Now this is where you really need to plot out your moves. We've gone back to regular stance, we're pressing and holding. Make sure you don't see that arrow falling a little bit short. I don't think it is there. Okay, cool. Because falling just short of a settlement can be almost a death sentence. We also have an ambusher here. Be very careful when you have beastmen in your territory. That really does bother me, I'm not gonna lie, but what's happening up here should probably bother me a little bit more. Our upkeep is really starting to feel the heat, so our goal is to lower the upkeep of all of these gates, well, the armies that are garrisoning all of these gates. Now if we place this army in this garrison, it will lower the upkeep, so there we go immediately. So he's likely going to strike around that turtle gate. We'll hire a couple more archers. So this isn't a very big garrison, so we're going to hire another lord. Let's go Lord of Yang, and we'll get this one who's a great fighter. Now our upkeep is hurting right now, but we're going to get more income soon. Once these buildings build, this will reduce our upkeep of every army that's in here.
Before you end your turn with this far right army, make sure you go to the next slot across from recruitment to hire Regents of Renown. These are powered up units that start off at rank 9 and are exceptionally powerful. As your legendary lord levels up, you will unlock additional units. This is a great way of getting more units on the battlefield in a pinch, so make sure when you're playing you hire these. I'm not going to, because I intend to actually lose this gate to show you what to do and how to react. You can also hire allied recruitment by selecting here.
Now when you confederate, you take a penalty because you've accumulated a lot of influence and a lot of power, but remember we took this settlement early. This will complete Xiao Ming's province if we give it back to him, so double check the name every time. It's the Shrine of the Alchemist. What he will give us is a defensive alliance and a lot of cash. I'm going to take the gold. We'll eventually work to a military alliance. Will he join my war? Nope. Cool. And we are fighting for our lives here. Village has come. On easy difficulty you could probably auto-resolve this. Alright, here we are. So we need to defend from the enemy. We're going to go Control A and throw all of our units up there for now. So first of all we need to man these walls, but only for long enough for the enemy to get close. So we'll pick the worst infantry you have available, and now we're going to number all of these number 0, so they're in their own group away, and when the enemy gets too close we will run them back, so they're just there to get a few volleys off and hopefully do some damage. So this town square here, you always want a town square or a corner which has at least 2 towers. This has 4 towers, bloody great. So get your archers, make sure they have enough room to pivot and then saturate their fire. And then the remaining, we're going to blockade these front areas here, because this is where they will come charging in. Cavalry at the back to reinforce, and of course our legendary lord in the middle. We want the towers that are worth 2,000 because they're explosive, do massive magical damage. So we want to do the 2 back ones and then the 2 front towers. So just take your time to get the full damage, the most explosive damage, to make sure all your units are in the right place. Just keep on pressing a full stop or comma to cycle through your units. Now start the battle. So make sure your towers are targeting the same unit, like so. Oh, those screamers are gonna hurt. Enemy heroes are by far the biggest pain in the ass that you'll have to deal with. You can use your ancestral warriors to really lay the hurt on them and take out the wizard. And there we are, we're hacking him down nice and quick with that anti-large damage. Using Dragon's Breath, can do a decent amount of AoE damage. And cycle charging with your cavalry.
So just keep on holding them off and build up all those towers up to tier 4 and allow the bombardment around their blobs. Please keep in mind that this has been deliberately lost so you can see what to do. If you have a breakthrough, there's not so much I can demonstrate if the campaign goes squeaky clean. This campaign is to teach, not flex.
Okay, turn 9. So this is a great way to demonstrate what we do if we do have a breakthrough. So keep in mind we can always force march to reinforce an existing battle. So at any point in time, if we have a lord that moves up around here, this army here, even though it's not that great, it's some good numbers, will be able to come and reinforce. If we look at their movement, they can only barely break through this gate. So we can actually react now. Replace this Yang sorcerer that did die ever so bravely. Basic units, yes, but I'm not worried about this army. It's only basic units, and the basic garrison here can certainly defeat it. So no worries with that. So we're going to pass the elite units into this stack, disband this sorcerer, and I know this seems contrived, but we're going to hire another lord at Nangu, and that will service this gate here if needed. I find Yang very, very good for settlement defense. So this will really hurt the bank, but we're about to get a bunch more cash because we're about to start the war with Skaven. Now we could declare war, or we can get this gentleman here to pay for us. We'll join. What will he give us? Yep. So, how do we think we'd go? We would take very, very little losses, but that's pretty good. Let's occupy. 2 points of experience. Excellent. Let's get Life Bloom and Golden Hounds. Now keep your eye out for Swordmaster. This is an ancillary which will lower the upkeep of Jade Warriors, and now we are back in the green again. Pretty good stuff, so always keep an eye on followers. Turn 10 and the compass is ready for another spin. We've already maxed out the Great Bastion, so let's get some control and move it to Celestial Lake. And honestly, pivoting between these two is what you'll typically do, but if you capture some, say, heavily corrupted territory, if we wanted to, say, settle north of the wall, this can be quite useful to reduce the corruption. So assessing the map, let's see how many settlements Snitch has left. He has 2 settlements. Now, where could they be? Well, the Skaven Hide. So it has to be these 2. Let's learn the art of ambushing. So first of all, do we have any followers or equipment that will increase ambush rate? We don't, so you need to look around for any movement percentage down the bottom here. When it hits less than 25%, you want the highest possible ambush success rate. Now, as you imagine, in greenery is by far the most effective. We seem to be at 80% where we are, so I'm quite happy to keep that. You take a bit longer to get where you're going, but they're very unlikely to fight us here. So their armies could come straight past here, and then we can jump on them. If we come out here completely in the open, they will stay outside our movement range, and they will easily pin us down. The way auto resolve works is it always favors units with full hit points. So this should favor us in a big way. Pyrrhic victory, but one I will gladly take. We need the money. And whilst it's not really desirable, we'll sit inside this crappy territory and replenish what we can. Cool. Okay, we got another follower, which increases campaign movement on the one and only Miao Ying because she has the most ground to cover.
Whenever you win a battle, you have a chance of stealing equipment off the enemy lords or heroes in that battle. Equipment is free to move around your army, so feel free to place it on whoever you want, wherever you want. See my guide on all mechanics to see how the different percentage resistances do work.
They've now taken the wall, but they've only got this basic Norscan faction here. Next turn we'll be able to reinforce and move our way up, but until then we need to raise another army. So let's locally raise some spearmen, and we'll globally recruit some Jade crossbowmen.
Global recruitment takes twice as long to do, and it's also incredibly expensive, so only do it if you absolutely need to, but it is a good way to build your armies further away from your capital.
I know this is broke. Let's move our brand new lord up with another full rack of Jade crossbows. We're going to transfer these into the cities, and they will be the defenders. What we missed in that last battle, we didn't have enough range support, and we'll sandwich them here and then go wipe out his capital and that will take a lot of pressure off of us.
You'll notice at the top here, we are running at a deficit. When is this okay? Well, as long as we can finish the next turn with a positive treasury, which we can finish several turns here, you will be fine. Also, every battle you win will bring in more gold. Now, do not ever try to regularly run at a deficit unless you really know what you're doing. Each additional army does compound your military cost just a little bit, but this is why we're recruiting through multiple lords and then joining them to a single army to help march out. We're doing this to help conquer the enemy quicker, and then we'll disband the unnecessary units. So, running at a deficit is just simply a strategy to quickly raise forces to achieve a short-term goal and then restore a balanced budget. Just don't run out of money because your troops will start deserting.
We have an option with this settlement here. We could actually gift it to Zartan and see if he'll declare war on village for us. I mean, we're just going to lose this settlement anyway, so we may as well give it to him and see what he does with it. We could sign non-aggression. I think it's more important to have him attack. Will he do it? Yes, he will. Cool. Turn 11, and they have broken through and besieged us. How dare they?
Legendary lords are special in that they always have siege attacker, meaning they don't need to spend a turn to build siege equipment before attacking a walled settlement, i.e. a capital. Normally you will need a turn to build siege equipment unless you have a legendary lord, artillery, or monsters with the siege attacker rule.
We'll save them, it'll be fine. Cool. The garrison gave us a huge bonus to the auto-resolve.
Take a close look at what we've done here. We've selected the enemy lord to see their movement range, and we're going to move our army just outside it, so he can't attack us, but we're closing in.
Just make sure when we reinforce that we don't expose ourselves in the process. Even closer. We can level up our bastion to level 2, and housing this army will reduce our upkeep. Cool. Can't quite reach that. Very, very disappointing. So we're still in ambush stance, moving up. 70% is still pretty good.
I decided to hold off this till later in the video so as not to overwhelm you more than I already am. It's time to talk harmony, the cornerstone mechanic of the Cathay faction. Harmony implies all energies are either yin or yang. Leaning further to one alignment will provide some bonuses, whilst leaning to the opposite will provide others. Discipline and balance are the theme of Cathay. By keeping buildings in harmony, you will typically gain the biggest bonus. Balance is most easily achieved by the economic buildings, which can be either yin or yang. Keeping balance is easy. If you're currently in Yin, build one Yang building and equal harmony. And yes, the opposite applies. If you are +1 Yang balance, build a Yin building. Advanced Cathay players will deliberately lean one way or the other temporarily for those advantages, but while you're learning, just keep it easy, keep in harmony, it's still excellent. Harmony is done at the provincial level. Simply select a province, check out the icon, or use the quick province selection and you can easily see all of your provinces and if they are in harmony. So your next question must be, which buildings do I build? Select this button in your province and you'll see the builder, and it will show you every building available to every settlement. Your priority is always unique buildings once they open up to you. They provide excellent bonuses to the province and sometimes even your faction, similar to tradable resources, which should also be a priority because the more resources you have, the more stock you have to trade with, thus more trade partners, and the gold and relations they come with. You'll hear some dated advice that you must prioritize growth early on, but this comes secondary to your economy and gold. First build the market building in each settlement, build yin or yang, whichever gets you closer to harmony, and then build the growth building, also providing some extra gold. Your capitals should specialize in the blue line to increase your hero caps, and if you've built too much one way, remember you can always change the alignment of a building, but it brings it back to tier 1.
Turn 12 and we have a rebellion. Good thing is rebellions the first time round are fairly easy, and that should be quite an easy auto-resolve. Oh, we had another rebellion. Rebellions everywhere.
Every province has a level of control, which represents public order and unrest. It can max out at 100, but at -100 you will get a rebellion in the form of an army outside of the capital of that territory. Early on, honestly, they're just an easy cash grab, but with higher level settlements, they can be quite sizable. Economy is always your priority because armies can defeat rebellions if they occur. You only want 1 or 2 high level control buildings that will settle control for only a single build slot, freeing you up to focus on economy with the remainder. Note, climate, corruption, and raiding armies can all terrify your control. The best way to settle a province is by garrisoning armies in the settlements to make sure nobody gets any ideas. Most races have ancillaries that will bolster public order and help stack this bonus.
So remember, in capitals, have towers, have absolutely everything they need to win these kind of engagements quite easily before we attack, because we can't see what's in there, but we can see his balance of power. He's got a few armies. Snitch is far from helpless. We were discovered, we weren't attacked. That's easy auto resolve. So Skaven units are often quite weak in auto resolve, keep that in mind. And he should be on to his last settlement. Okay, he's got 2 left. And we can now go to another caravan location. This time we'll go to Castle Drakenhof to get that blade. Yeah, we'll auto resolve this. Take the money. Always move your reinforcing lord up, because you will get experience even just for reinforcing. Rebellions are sorted.
Notice the red ring around every settlement and every character. Heroes don't have this, but lords do. This is their zone of control. You cannot move through this. You can only move to the very edge of the circle of control. If you have a secondary army, move exactly up to the edge of their circle of control and then attack with your other army. You will reinforce and dominate them, giving you a massive bonus. Also, putting one army in ambush stance next to another makes the enemy think there is a lone army and you can ambush.
Put a lone lord out in the open, appearing as an easy hit. Oh, yeah. Oh, poor Skaven, you do so bad in auto resolve. Occupy. Now Snitch has 1 settlement left, and it's at the top of this hill. Ah, damn it, he's going to take this back. Okay, this is another very potent ability, and that is the Regiments of Renown. Let's do that. Hire all of your regiments of renown, because they hire instantly, and it's a really great way to react, coming with a pretty nasty army. So we'll hopefully take a few casualties away. So we will lose that. That is going to happen. Okay, making sure we have even yin and yang, keeping everything in full harmony. Okay, we have no chance of winning this. We'll fight on the field and try to kill some of his characters.
We've covered Provincial Harmony, now to do Battlefield Harmony, the final mechanic we've yet to explore. Units are also yin or yang alignment. Yin is typically safe missile units, whilst yang is more fiery melee units. Each individual unit has a circle of influence. So long as there is a unit of the opposite alignment within there, you get the yin or yang bonus, significantly bolstering the stats of each unit. This forces your hand to play cathay as intended, balanced in composition with disciplined hardy formations.
Oh, that was a bit of a painful end turn. Let's take this back.
By having a secondary army in ambush stance, the enemy has been emboldened to attack, not realizing we have another army, which successfully hid and now can change out of ambush stance and then march regularly to reinforce the battle.
So we take back the gate, taking the money, and now they are wiped. Cool. The Jade Custodians looking to trade with us, and we'll sign everything we can. We don't need money, we want to build that relationship, and we will confederate them shortly after. Cool. Let's sign as much as we can. Now in terms of movement, he's going to come back and take this in 2 turns, but I can take that in 2 turns, catch him in the middle. I'm kind of going counter tit for tat. I could move in ambush stance, but I know he doesn't have another army. Otherwise, always move up in ambush stance, and then it'll often not even cost you a turn, and you protect your army. And that turn looks good to move on. Do we have any construction? Always upgrade your capitals if you can, and end turn. Turn 15, and the Celestial Loyalists have declared war on Snitch, and they're going after him while he's weak. Oh no!
Okay, legit, I've been caught with my pants down. Right here, I've led an enemy army, which is Skaven, which has the underway stance, and instead of defending their main settlement, they've gone off to pillage and maybe find a new one of this very squishy interior. The army is weak, but so are the garrisons of our economic heart, so we need to defend them. Lessons learned is scouting with heroes and ensuring they didn't have another army, checking their balance of power, but also shows in real time how to react if you get caught with your pants down like I did. The number one rule is to make sure you have a lord in any settlement that will be attacked. They'll either be a great line holder or a great caster able to deal area of effect. In this instance, the most important thing is reinforcing with other armies. See the range of movement. Here we've elected to bring one of our wall garrisons down to the city neighbouring the one that's in danger. This Skaven army knows that if they take my settlement, they will be hit with 2 other armies. This means at worst they'll sack it and run away, but they sure as hell will not take it and occupy it because they'll be stuck in it.
You let them in and this is what happens. Alright, we got no chance here, so we're going to castle up inside the central area where they also are. Nice. Let's shoot their range units because that's what's doing the damage. And where they're clustered like this, see? Nice big open area like that. The Skaven slaves are very poorly armoured and they're very susceptible to range of effect damage. Okay, we have a secondary army there. Cool, good damage, good damage.
That was a demonstration of a really good Dragon's Breath, waiting for lots of enemies to be engaged in a very tight formation, maximising that area of effect damage. Spoiler alert, I lose this battle because I underestimated how many troops were actually coming from that other flank. The thing that cost us this battle was not using our magic efficiently. Had I not been firing off pot shots and waiting for large clusters to actually be engaged, we would have done enough damage and given the army losses, that is, doing enough damage to the army to make them all flee. Even though most of your army might be gone, this will often present some of the best opportunities for group damage, because everyone will be herded around a single lord. This is where you can cast the spell Jade Shield, giving you a 44% ward save, i.e. shrugging off 44% of all damage. This means your caster can stand there with the Skaven that can't hit much, and then just indiscriminately fire Dragon's Breath, burning the blobs. I didn't feel like being cheesy, so I didn't do it here, but if we had, we would have quite comfortably won this battle. Note that battles are easier to win and break the enemy on easier difficulties.
Alright, charge in. The shots into our back are really hurting us. I was hoping they'd do a bit more. If these guys can rally, we'll have a front here that I don't think they can push back. Come on, hang in there. Oh, so close. Turn 16. They only sacked that territory, which means they knew that if they'd taken it, we would counterattack and take it back, killing his general. He does not want to lose that general and have them trapped in a settlement. So, my ally here is going to keep on attacking him and chasing him until he's got nowhere to go. Which one do I value more? Well, that's tier 2, so we'll protect this one. A couple of crossbowmen. Very nice. Just be careful with Skaven because they can ambush your lords, so we'll pack the units and then dismiss this lord because we don't want to lose her. Upgrade the capital. And let's move down with 25%. Well, there's Snicked. In forced march.
I just want to add here, the auto-resolve is really generous in Warhammer 3 and will often do better than you could yourself. However, if there's a battle that you know you can do better and you're going to lose some really nice, say, tier 7 units, then just have a break. Go to bed, don't just throw away battles, and even sieges where you're going to lose. Fighting them manually using towers, you will devastate the enemy army, rather than an auto-resolve which will do nothing to the enemy and slow their advance.
Cool, so I know he has no more armies left because he couldn't possibly. This is the last of his armies. So build the defensive supplies building and upgrade the upkeep reduction building. This will ensure you never ever get taken by surprise again, and this will free you up to attack Lockyer Fellhart. Marble. We are currently in Yang, so let's get it back into sync with a Yin building. Level 12. We can now get her personal line, which is excellent. Now, sometimes you will be demanded a gift by what will be a very hostile faction. Grimgor of the Greenskins is incredibly strong. He's demanding some gold. Now, if we decline, he will declare war on us. For a tenth of our treasury, to not have a major enemy is actually a really good deal. He'll have his time. Don't make yourself look weak by having too many enemies because it makes you an appealing target for everyone else. So, Turn 17, and her other unique item is available simply by winning 8 battles. We have completed, what's that, 3rd province? As soon as he gets a bit more heat on him, he will confederate. So we get a defensive alliance with him, and then basically provoke Lokia into attacking us, and then that will scare him into confederating with us. Okay, so alright, Gotrek and Felix, defenders of this settlement, love it. Let's go around upgrading our gates. This province is in yin harmony. Let's build 1 yang building to get it into full harmony. And this unique skill line, getting the +4 relations to Grand Cathay, will make getting deals much easier, and that was enough alone for them to want to sign this defensive alliance. Cool. And over the end turn, Gotrek got the ambush. Suck on that. Turn 18, Clan Eshin is destroyed. Not ready to confederate with us yet, but we are about to start our next war. You don't want beastmen kicking around in your territory. They cause nothing but trouble. So we're going to take this path in an attempt to intercept that beastman tribe. Got 2 garrison armies. This one has a ton of crossbows. Nothing is ever getting through that. That's actually overkill. I could run some of these units to this frontier, and I probably will. Okay, we're moving into Nanli to hire some more Jade Crossbowmen to help us take out Lockyer Fellheart. Once we eliminate Lockyer, this campaign is in the bag. You are one major faction away from having no more threats at all. Nothing is getting through these top settlements here. So that's how I'd recommend doing this campaign. Take these settlements out, and once you've expanded to the water and have no one else to kill here, you can even sail across to the west side of the map, start invading Lustria. There's also Yuan Bo, you can confederate him as well. So you've got probably the next 10 to 20 turns to confederate these next 2 factions, at which point you can then take the fight past the wall or start invading Lustria with the sea lanes located here and here. So hopefully that has been an enjoyable and pretty rounded take to the first campaign. We've had a few things go really right, a few things go really wrong, and the whole point of this was to show you how to think rather than how to play, and hopefully this leads to you having some really good campaigns. Ask anything in the comments, join the Discord, totally free, ask anything you want. There's a ton of amazing people in there. Please like, share, sub, it really does help out, and this is Elvin, I'll see you next time.